Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Christine Sauer, and today I want to talk about anxiety, but probably not in a way you usually hear about it online, because anxiety is often misunderstood. People say things like, just relax, you worry too much, think positive, calm down. But anyone who has truly struggled with anxiety knows that it is rarely that simple. Because anxiety is not merely a weakness of character. It's not laziness either. It's not a lack of discipline and not just a symptom. And it's certainly not all in your head. Anxiety is a real nervous system experience involving the brain, the body, emotion, memory, stress hormones, past experiences, lifestyle factors, and often a nervous system that has become stuck in a chronic state of alertness. And understanding that changes everything. Because when we understand what anxiety actually is, we can begin approaching ourselves with less shame and more compassion. Let's begin with something very important. Anxiety is, at its core, a survival response. Your nervous system was designed to protect you. And long before human beings had modern medicine, therapy, or even safe homes, our survival depended on quickly detecting danger. So the brain evolved to constantly scan for threats. And the problem is, our modern world often keeps the system activated continuously. Financial stress, relationship stress, social media, information overload, uncertainty, burnout, poor sleep, trauma, chronic overstimulation. So many people today live with nervous systems that rarely feel truly safe or deeply rested. And eventually the body starts reacting as if danger's everywhere. One of the most frightening parts of anxiety is although how physical it feels. People may experience racing hearts, chest tightness, dizziness, nausea, digestive upset, insomnia, muscle tension, sweating, shakiness, even panic attacks, or constant exhaustion. And this often scares people even more because they think, what's wrong with me? But you know what? These symptoms make sense when we understand the nervous system. Because when the brain perceives danger, the fight or flight system activates. Adrenaline rises, cortisol increases, the body prepares for action, your heart beats faster, breathing changes, muscles tighten, digestion slows down, attention narrows toward possible threats. And this response is helpful during emergencies. But it becomes exhausting when the body never fully switches back into recovery mode. And this is also why anxiety and gut symptoms are so closely connected. Because the gut and brain constantly communicate with one another. Stress can affect digestion almost immediately. Many people notice stomach pain, bloating, nausea, diarrhea, or loss of appetite during stress, or the opposite. They eat too much and are constipated, especially when they eat sweets and comfort foods. The body and the mind and the spirit are not separate systems. They are deeply interconnected. And another important thing to understand is that anxiety can be learned. The nervous system learns through repetition, especially emotionally intense repetition. If someone experiences chronic stress, criticism, trauma, bullying, panic attacks, burnout, emotional neglect, or prolonged uncertainty, the brain may begin anticipating danger automatically. Eventually, the nervous system can start reacting not only to danger, but to reminders, memories, sensations, situations, or thoughts associated with danger, even long in the past. And then people often say, I know this reaction doesn't make sense, but I still feel terrified. That is because the body often reacts before the logical mind catches up. And this does not mean you're broken. It actually means that your nervous system learned something powerful. And importantly, what is learned can often be softened, retrained, processed, and regulated over time. Now, there's no single approach that helps everyone with anxiety. Human beings are complex. Different people respond to different tools and therapists. One of the most researched approaches is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT helps people identify thinking patterns that may intensify anxiety, catastrophizing, black and white thinking, assuming the worst, perfectionism, or harsh self-judgment. And one of my favorite humorous approaches related to this comes from Dr. Daniel Amen, who talks about the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that infest the brain. Now, these are the repetitive negative thoughts that quietly crawl through the mind all day long. I'll fail. Something bad will happen. I'm not good enough. But once you start noticing these ants, you realize your brain may have been running an insect colony without your permission. And honestly, humor matters. Sometimes learning to smile gently at your own thought patterns can reduce fear and shame tremendously. I also appreciate Team CBT, developed by Dr. David Burns, which explores emotional resistance to change and deeper underlying beliefs that may maintain anxiety pattern and helps to dissolve them. Because sometimes part of the nervous system believes that anxiety is helping to keep us safe, prepared, responsible, or in control. Other people benefit from exposure or desensitization approaches. Avoidance may reduce anxiety temporarily, but over time it can unintentionally teach the nervous system that ordinary situations are dangerous and makes it worse. Gradual exposure helps the brain slowly relearn safety, not through force, not through overwhelm, but through manageable experiences of, I can survive this. There are also trauma-focused approaches like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reposing. EMDR uses bilateral stimulation while processing distressing memories and may help reduce the emotional intensity connected to traumatic experiences. And then there are newer nervous system oriented approaches like havening techniques, and there's tapping, also called EFT. Havening uses soothing touch combined with calming mental processes to help regulate emotional distress and support feelings of safety and grounding, like putting yourself in a safe haven. Tapping combined mindful attention with tapping on specific acupressure points, and some people find it deeply calming. Research on some of these approaches is still evolving, but many individuals report meaningful or even amazing benefits. What I appreciate about these methods is that they recognize something modern medicine often forgets. Human beings are embodied. We are not just thinking creatures, we are emotional, relational, sensory beings. Sometimes safety must be felt, not only understood intellectually. Now then, lifestyle factors also matter much more than people realize. Sleep deprivation alone can dramatically increase anxiety. So can excessive caffeine, alcohol, chronic inflammation, blood sugar instability, social isolation, being overworked, and constant digital overstimulation, especially with bad news. The nervous system needs rhythms of recovery. Sometimes healing begins with surprisingly simple things: walking outdoors in nature, sleeping properly, reducing overload, connecting with people, prayer, movement, breathing, laughter, time in nature. Small, repeated moments of safety matter. Some people also find certain supplements or herbs supportive. Magnesium is often discussed because of its role in nervous system regulation and muscle relaxation. L-theanine, found naturally in green tea, may support calm focus for some individuals. Others explore herbs like chamomile, lemon balm, or valerian. These are not magic cures, and responses vary significantly, especially if someone has medical condition or takes medications. But for some people, they can become one helpful part of a broader healing approach. And perhaps this is the most important thing I want you to remember today. Healing from anxiety does not necessarily mean to become fearless. It often just means becoming more resilient, more regulated, more self-aware, less controlled by fear, more able to move through uncertainty and fear without constantly feeling trapped in survival mode. And progress is rarely linear. Some days are easier than others, but many people eventually discover that anxiety no longer has to dominate their entire life story. And if this topic resonates with you, I also wrote a detailed article exploring anxiety, the nervous system, trauma, CBC, havening techniques, trapping, supplements, and emotional regulation approaches in much greater depth. I'll link that article below. And if you're interested in practical, guided nervous system calming techniques, you can also explore my Instant Calm Formula course, where I teach simple calming exercises inspired by havening and related mind-body approaches. Thank you so much for being here. Please take gentle care of yourself. And remember, understanding ourselves more deeply is often where healing begins.